Today, we're going to cover the 3 tips for the end-of-life planning. And I want to just let you know that this has been deeply personal because I lost my mother-in-law at the end of September, and also had a client who's friend and then became a client in the middle of October. So some similarities between the 2 losses in the fact that both were from cancer. Both folks went through a fairly significant amount of time of needing care and really had families that were able to step up, provide that care. And even though it is an end of life, it was kind of an amazing experience. I want to give you a couple tips of what I've discovered that can help make this journey, I don't want to say certainly not enjoyable, but certainly give you some strength, some resources, some things that can help you through a fairly difficult period of life. So first, let's start with get all the help and assistance that you can. With my mother-in-law, we found out about 10 months prior that she was diagnosed with cancer, stage 4 cancer. All of a sudden, we went from having somebody who was very used to a very independent living situation to needing help and care. Had a very positive experience with Medicare caseworkers. I know that Medicare does not have typically the best reputation in the world, but there are some great Medicare caseworkers out there and was very helpful. Also, if your loved one had military service, the VA has some great programs out there that can also be of help. There are also professional care organizations out there. We utilized Angels for Elders, and there's many different levels of care. There's just folks that will come out and help with the activities of daily living, of helping with the house. Then you get into skilled nursing care, palliative care, you get into hospice care. And having these professionals there, some of the most comforting and knowledgeable conversations I had was with the nurses that would come out. Obviously, they deal with this on a day-to-day basis and can communicate clearly in a way that is meaningful. And I'm a huge believer in direct conversations and was grateful for the way that they communicated with me at this, but did not communicate. They communicated differently with different family members that needed a little bit more gentle conversations about what was going to occur. Also, there are faith-based programs. So if you have a conversation with your church or something along those lines, reach out to the community. Find all the help that you can. It will help not only get better care for the person that needs it, it will also help you as a caregiver give better care. Moving on to the second point, be prepared for the inevitable. It's going to come. None of us knows the date of our death, but we do know that it is an inevitable date. So being prepared, if you just look at it from an estate planning process of having powers of attorney, having the health directives, having an estate plan. Notice I didn't specifically state saying having a will. Not everybody needs a will. I'm not an attorney, but I believe that if you reach out to legal professionals that are very knowledgeable in estate planning, there are times that you do need wills or times that you don't. I guess the same can be said for the powers of attorney and the health directives, but making your wishes known through the documents and the legal devices that are available to you will help. Because when you're dealing with the physical and the emotional part of someone's passing, having these things put together allows people around that person to make the financial decisions, to keep things going, and to make the inevitable physical decisions that have to be made. That's what the health directives, the pull the plug document, need to have those in place so that that person's wishes are expressed, known, and can be followed to the best of the caregiver's possibilities. Also understand something that if you have a will, it typically takes 60 days to have a will probated. And sometimes that process can be much longer, particularly if there are outstanding debts, there's a business owner, different things. Having the ability to go around having things in a will, and a perfect example is if you have individual retirement accounts, those do not go through the probate process because you name a primary beneficiary and then contingency beneficiaries, And typically those things will not be probated. They will be automatically, upon receiving the death certificate, those things will be transferred to the new owners. Finally, when that person does pass, it is a new beginning. And I think it's very important, first off, to remember, and I'm particularly speaking within these two cases, and my mother-in-law in particular, she was in a much better place. But also now there is a new beginning, there is a new reality. And the fact that, and I'll give this example, particularly for surviving spouses, they had been married 61 years. And it is a very difficult process to go through and have somebody that is used to having a spouse that my father-in-law had known her all his adult life and much of his adolescent life. And I think it's important to remember that if you have a surviving spouse, it's incredibly important to make sure that we understand this is a new beginning. There's a new reality to these things. So making sure that you're not only continuing to provide care for that person, but also making sure that the bills are continuing to be paid, that certain things need to be taken care of. And I'll give you an example. My mother-in-law was very much into genealogy. She was part of an annual, a website that charged an annual fee. I was able to call them up and say, she's passed, please discontinue the service. And they did that. It's just all these things that kind of come at you. And if you have the ability to help these people with this new beginning, this new reality, and the care, particularly if there's that surviving spouse, that surviving loved one, you've got to continue this kind of care as we go forward. It's a very different process from when I've stepped back and I've been a financial advisor and had clients pass, I've had friends pass, but when you're really in the middle of it, just trying to help you be prepared for that fact.